It's been a while since I finished Like a Dragon, yet every day I feel the urge to just jump back in, just a little. Whether it's to explore Jincho, play some can quest, reminisce over certain story locations, or just to frolic through the dungeons, most notably the true final dungeon. I can't help but feel the pull every time I boot up my PS5. Why? Well, I guess it's just that everything feels so fresh, but also with enough of that Yakuza DNA. It's a perfect balance of past games and their new direction. It has me itching for more, much in the same way that Kiwami did a fair few years ago. The new combat system is a complete refresh for the series and works surprisingly well. I don't feel any freedom was stripped from me thanks to the change. In fact, I felt I, personally, could do more. Being turn-based, the system allows ample amount of time to think ahead and adapt, and that time just isn't present in the real-time systems of other games. Players really good at those other games, like Dance Devil 12, can pull off some absolutely mental sequences in record time in ways I'm still trying to figure out how to do myself. The beauty of the turn-based approach is now that I, for the first time, thanks to that at a time, can pull off some impressive plays myself. The satisfaction of clicking with the game's combat system cannot be overstated. I promise it's one of the best feelings and endeared me hard with the new combat. Beyond that, the multiple characters, multiple jobs, which are the game's movesets categorized into theme groupings, the different weapons, items, and gear heavily expand the combinations available in battle. That, along with the little mechanical touches of the characters' movements, perfect guards, down critical hits, and the Dragon Engine ragdoll physics, provides the engagement that keeps the systems incredibly fresh, and thus I'm always wanting more, much like trying to master the real-time game's movesets. The RPG elements in this game made it a blast. It becomes incredibly tweakable with gear, items, weapons, jobs, and even their appearances for your bouts around town. They also influence the map design, as it is now easier to separate segments of the map with more and more difficult enemies to deter exploration, or encourage defiance and testing your mettle against them. With the heavy leaning into the RPG themes in its story, it's easily justified here and can thus provide that extreme feeling of growth that comes from it, just like the classic RPGs have done before them. See this video by H. Belmer Guy on Fallout New Vegas for reference. This also means key locations guide you to a natural path around town. Take the pawn shop and can quest, both of which can help you out immensely in the early game. Also, the romance workshop for weapons mainly, hello work for combat alterations, and the homeless encampment for restoration and item storage. The path around to and from these locations naturally teach you landmarks, locations, and the difference between districts. The first time you can really feel this having an effect is the first time you end up far away from it all. You end up one entire train station across from where you had been comfortable, and now you're subject to an unfamiliar location with tougher enemies roaming the streets and quite a ways to get back. That harshness teaches you a lot, but mainly taught me the comfort of that starting area, the importance of certain locations, shops, and items in those areas, and an appreciation for the game systems that were keeping me essentially safe in that area. No better way to teach a system than getting the player connected to it. Naturally, one of the great and engaging elements that keeps bringing me back, particularly to the dungeons, are the numerous enemy types. I do think the variety would be possible in the real-time games, but would somewhat rob the focus of their high-tempo battles. Plus, they use the variety well in hitting story beats and gameplay challenges. However, given the turn-based nature of Like a Dragon, enemy variety is a must to vary up the gameplay, and RGG do a fantastic job creating a wide variety of enemies here, with their own variations as well. Having them makes the world feel varied, lived in, and ever changing. Plus, it's an extremely engaging way of giving even the tiniest piece of the map its own identity. In dungeons, it gives a sense of variety, which is good since some of the replayable dungeons don't really have the best interior design until you get to the last ones. The enemy variety both allows you to wander curiously all over town, being fascinated by what you'll discover next, and maps out parts of the town to almost guarantee the gameplay that you want. The more staple aspects of the series are obviously a huge pull for me, and they're better than ever right here. RGG continues to refine and polish many aspects of the games, and Like a Dragon certainly is one of their best efforts. Everything feels intentional, nothing feels out of place or without purpose, even if that purpose is just for setting the excellent atmosphere I adore these games for. Fan service is done well. It's not overbearing, it manages to be surprising, and reminds us of why these aspects are fan favorites in the first place. The silly stuff is still present in the sub-stories and the main stories as well, well, it just wouldn't be Yakuza without the levity that so often enhances the tragedy of the characters and their stories. The map design at its core and beyond gameplay reasons remains as exceptional as ever. These aren't just copies of real life spaces, they're great homages and they retain and translate the most important aspects of that, the atmosphere. I've played GTA 5 and Watch Dogs 2. I can't tell you what the cities feel like beyond the context of the game. I can tell you with reasonable confidence and likely atmosphere you would face in a number of Japanese cities, all thanks to these games. And while Kamurocho with its advantage of several games is clearer to me, Ijincho isn't far behind, and that's incredibly impressive considering its debut here. The cast of characters here are some of the best defined and well realized in the series. Their backstories, motivations, and general attitudes are layered, unique, and fantastically written in a manner that is naturalistic, which is incredible given the less than grounded situations they find themselves in throughout the story. Beyond that, returning to them, especially after the credits roll, is a joy. The bond they share with the player and each other is endearing and gives us an ample reason to return. Their personalities with charm and uniqueness always lends them a reason for not only a return, but rotation in a party, which helps to keep everything fresh in the post game. I feel as if I could make a video on each and every character themselves, so I will keep it brief and simply state that these are some of my favorite characters from the series, and they have managed to achieve that in just one game. Incredible. There's one more reason, and that is its own separate video, out now if I did this right. It basically involves the culmination of all the game systems and the true final tower, which was, fun fact, only DLC for the original version. But I think they made the right decision by incorporating it and its trophy into the final Western product. Ultimately, even though I've been playing and thoroughly enjoying Lost Judgment, I have been just as frequently returning to Like a Dragon. They're both great games, and Lost Judgment really does have its own identity that I appreciate so much more now in contrast. I guess with me playing catch up on this series up until now, quickly moving on to the next game even with replays, it is nice to have a game where it feels right to allow it to pull me back in from time to time, quite regularly in fact, based purely on the quality of it alone. I thoroughly enjoy this new take on this series and its blend with the staples of the series, and I am extremely excited for its future beyond it. For now however, I don't see myself fighting the urge to be pulled back in anytime soon.